Hey everybody, hope everybody's been doing good. We're gonna do something different today. I've been compelled or given a good inkling by the ancients to kind of talk about myself a little so you guys get familiar with me. Um, I guess as they call me, I'm their conduit. Um, their next channeling is about love, and I'm interested in what they're going to talk about with it, but they kind of urged me to maybe once in a while give some of my own personal feedback. So I think that's what this session's going to do. I would say that for those of you out there that are familiar with the dark night of the soul, I just personally went through that probably up until recently. It was about 6 years worth of hell, of changes, of the rawest of raw of emotions. Um, you know, I've only been on my spiritual path probably the last 6 years. Before that, I kind of was fully encased in my avatar body of who I am. I was married, kids, great job. Had no inkling that I would be doing this. If you told me 6 years ago I'd be channeling, I would say you were batshit crazy and not in a million years. I believed in religion and, kind of started when I was young. I remember waking up as like a 4 or 5 year old and seeing this grayish, greenish, bluish figure on me that bopped me on the head. And, I remember waking up after and telling my sister back then what happened. And, I kind of forgot about it, just kind of drummed it up as, a little kid experience. And when I started going through this spiritual awakening and started channeling the ancients and seeing that same figure, and I told her, because there's not many people you can talk to about this without thinking that you're crazy or anything, or you're up to some kind of scam or something. That's why I do a lot of the videos in the dark. I do have a life out there, and kind of can't risk getting caught. So I try to keep both of the lives separate while simultaneously trying to live my core beliefs with them both. So anyway, I remember when I started going through this. I remember my sister brought it up, and I'm glad I told her. But it kind of helped validate it. But I was kind of living a life of I was a powerful executive in an industry. Very let's get things done. Not that I was bad or anything, but it was more I didn't have the full empathetic or sympathy that I needed. It was a very business oriented, results driven profession, and kind of ran my family that same way. I worked a lot. I thought of myself as a provider, and worked 60, 65 hours a week. And 6 years ago, my one of my children kind of went through something. Well, it kind of triggered where, um, I kept working for some good bosses, and then I worked for some really bad bosses that were the same shit that they were giving me. And I could never figure out why it was the same thing, different bosses, different companies. And it was a reflection of how I was managing. Um, and I didn't realize that until I was sort of going through my awakening, and one of my children got sick. Then my wife at the time kind of couldn't handle it. She came from a very broken alcoholic home. Kind of lost her grip on reality. I was about to get promoted in the company, and then my boss at the time kind of stabbed me in the back and did me dirty. So I got transferred to a different area, which I didn't want to. And slowly but surely, everything started falling apart. You know, we were having some financial issues. You know, uh, probably within that year, everything fell apart. I suffered a heart condition that I almost died from. Um, and as my daughter was going through stuff and my ex-wife was going through some mental issues, um, and I was going through job and health issues, she wanted to divorce. And I found myself wandering. This happened all within like 5 months, going from, everything's perfect to total chaos. Um, and I remember going to a psychic. Someone brought me there, and, she started, who's a dear friend of mine now, started, telling me stuff, and I'm like, wow, that's really going on. I mean, I just went in it on a whim. I didn't really believe in it. And then the stuff she told me, um, was true. Some things started coming. And I kept going back to her, talking to her, and I remember asking her tons of questions. I must have been a pain in the ass, and we started talking about heaven, and she started talking about how God and heaven and how the real concept was, and I remember started talking about reincarnation, and I'm like, are you kidding me? So not only do I have these physical things going on, I have this spiritual unraveling going on, all my beliefs. So everything that I thought I knew who I was, who loved me, started falling by the wayside. My father met a woman 30 years younger than him, and you can read between the lines on that one that she was pretty much a gold digger, and started putting a split between the family. So as I'm losing everything and everybody in my life, I was lost, and I was fighting to hold on to it. And as I started unraveling on the spiritual side, I started reading every book I could get my hands on. I must have read 100 books. Well, no, okay, probably like 30 books within like 6 months. It was an obsession. Everything I was looking, reincarnation, angels, this, that, and it was like a rabbit hole. And as I started going through this, and I started taking up meditation, and my friend, I started tapping into my psychic abilities. And I remember being at work, starting to see orbs above people's heads as they're in my office, and crazy things started happening to me. So, within 2 years, as things are progressing and falling apart worse and worse, and trying to keep it together, um, I leave the house unceremoniously. Um, and 2 months after that, I pretty much gave up on life. I was living in my shitty apartment. You know, um, my ex-wife lied to the kids. I couldn't see them. Um, just everything that could go wrong went wrong, and I contemplated ending everything. And I went through the dark night of the soul, and I remember I just upped and quit my job to make things worse. Um, and I went through that winter of a 4 month span living on savings, because I just gave up. I just crapped out. And if you can imagine, just cabin fever, waking up doing the same thing. I was waking up at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and I was going to bed at 4 in the morning, even though I was getting like 12 hours of sleep. I looked like a raccoon. I was just going out of my mind, and I was completely by myself. And, you ran out of money. And, I had to live with my sister, because I was on the end of my rope. I was trying to look for another job. I pretty much, after 43 years, no, 42 years, all I had to my name was 7 plastic bins of clothes, and no money, no job, nothing, just me. And the dark night of the soul almost did me in, but one night I decided that was going to be it, but at the last moment, I was pretty ashamed of myself, what I was thinking, and I decided to get my shit together, and I really learned a lot about myself during that time. Worst time of my life. Never, ever, ever wanted to go through that again. But it really unleashed my spiritual awakening. I started getting hot flashes around my body. Felt like my hands were on fire. I remember at my job before I left, I saw a bunch of pennies on the ground and something just clicked on me. And every day for about a year and a half, I found the penny every day, whether it was outside or in a store. It was weird. It was like that set off the trigger, which knew I would find the penny every day. Um, and the weird part is, after a year of doing that, I went to my mom's grave and just saying, is everything going to be okay, and this and that. And I looked down at the headstone, and sure enough, there was a penny. So once I started getting my shit together, I decided I didn't need my guides to give me pennies every day to assure me. That was really crazy. So I was kind of becoming, all these different synchronicities. I could do an hour and a half video of this. Slowly, I found another job. Best job I ever had. Got back out. Got my account back up to where it needed to be. I started seeing my daughter. I was able to, she was able to see past those lies. And then I was pretty much really ready to start, doing this channeling. And, it was about 2 years ago, well, a year and a half ago. I started seeing these during meditations. And then I was astral traveling, going everywhere. But I started seeing these large, bluish, grayish, large faces. And I kept seeing it for a month. And I didn't understand what it was. And a friend of mine, who's a psychic, along with my other psychic friend, which I owe a great deal of gratitude, and both of them really gave me great direction, helped save my life. And I know, one of them follows these videos, and I greatly appreciate it. She said that, these people are called the Ancient Builder Race, and she had contact with them, and I was like, okay. And, from there, even when I met my other friend in the beginning, before I started getting into this, she said, you're a channeler. And I didn't know what the hell that was. And so, 2 years ago, I'm like, well, what am I supposed to work with these people for? And then I'm like, am I supposed to channel with them? And, as I meditate, I started seeing different, faces, different entities. And it was really weird. They're just a conglomerate of different species, physical and non-physical. And so I started trying to channel them, and I kept going to my friend. I'm like, is it my ego, is it my thoughts? And she's just like, no, it's true, to verify everything. And it's just crazy. You're going through this spiritual transformation along with your physical, and your whole world becomes upheaved and destroyed. And to start from scratch again, personally, spiritually, and physically, it's daunting, it's exhausting. So I started channeling them, and, after a couple months, I'm like, am I supposed to channel you guys? And, if so, show me a sign. I want to see my name, because I was able to come up with the spirit name of my true name, Ano, O-N-O, which explains the name in here. And my nickname is Zano, Z-A-N-O, which I had my good friend verify. I was able to, I was meditating one day. I was like, oh, my name's Zano. And I never told her. And I was doing a session with her, and she's like, oh, your soul name's Ano. And I'm like, holy shit. And I was like, I came up with Zano. And she went back into her trance, and she said, that's your nickname. So maybe in the future episodes, I'll go into a little more details. But I said, I want to see my name tonight to verify it. So I go onto Facebook, And I was going on one of the spiritual sites, and somebody left a comment. Her name was Jonah Hano, Hono. And I was like, oh, wow, that's somewhat a little of what I was asking for. So I took that as confirmation. But then, like 2 months later, I'm like, I must be going batshit crazy with this channeling. Like I started, the Ancient Builder site, and then I got this inkling to start a YouTube channel, and I'm like, I'm gonna put myself out there on a YouTube channel. People are gonna think I'm batshit crazy because you got so many fakes and whatnot out there. I said, you guys definitely have to show me a sign, and I want to see my spirit name, my soul name, Ano, Ono. So throughout the whole day, I'm not seeing anything, so I get disappointed. I go home that night. And for some reason, 3 weeks before that, you know, I started binge watching the TV series Gotham last year, and I'm going through it. So about 2 in the morning that night, I'm watching an episode, and the Joker character, he's on a bus, and he's about to do something, and he points this thing at people on a bus, and he starts saying, "Give me an O," and they're like, "Oh," and then he goes, "Give me an N." So I'm like, "What?" And then he goes, "Give me another O," and he's like, "What's that spell?" "Oh no," meaning, and then he does what he does, but the funny thing is, it's spelled Ano. So now I'm just like freaking out. I'm like, okay, that's confirmation beyond belief. That's happened twice within a couple of months, and all these other things and confirmations. So that's how I started the YouTube channel. Channeling. I guess my message to everybody is that we come here. Well, apparently, like I said, I can recall some past lives here on Earth and in other places, and you know, I can have a glimpse of, you know, for like a split second or two when I meditate. I saw three entities in front of a table in like a powdery, cloudy room, and this one bluish gray woman had like a cowl around her head, and the other two had like different types of masks. And I remember when I was doing a reading, and I always called her Mary, and I was doing a reading with my psychic friend, and she's like, one of your spirit guides wears a cowl. So I never told her about my experience, and that was like several months before. I'm like, holy shit. And she's part of the Ancient Builder race and one of my guides. And I'll go into more future episodes with the details with my um, interactions with the Ancient Builder race, but I can recall past lives on here as a Pleiadian. Another weird thing that really verified was I had a dream one night, and I was in an orange helicopter minus the rotors, and the sides come down, and we're in a war, and we're shooting at robots, artificial intelligence. And so I had that dream, never told anybody. And then I had I had met someone through one of the spiritual sites, where you comment, and I was under the Zano character without my real picture, and all of a sudden she messages me and says, "Oh, I just channeled that we're supposed to meet." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, for shits and giggles, I'll play the game. And she's like, "I just channeled you and me are supposed to meet." And, she can't see my real identity or anything like that. So I start talking to her, and she's like, "Oh, I feel like we have a connection, this and that." And I'm like, okay. I was like, I feel something. So then I go and to my psychic friend, I show her a picture of her. And she's like, she starts saying, "Yeah, you had a past life with her. And I see you guys in an orange helicopter minus the rotor." So I'm like, holy shit, I had that dream several months prior. And she's like, "That's how you guys are connected." So I went back, I told her, I feel like we were like war buddies, not on Earth, but in another planet. And, it was just really weird that, she was able to confirm that. So I'm like, the spirituality stuff. And I got hundreds of, crazy stuff, which I'll do in future episodes. But other dreams I can recall, defending my house and against, um, I don't know, robots or artificial intelligence. When you have those same dreams over and over again over a period of your life, and just like with that helicopter, um, I've lived my life as a Pleiadian on a different planet. I can see myself somewhat as a bluish character, and apparently, my guides are the ancient builder race, and Mary, who's my spirit guide, uh, like I said, introduced me to them. Not introduced, but how can I put it? Not recruited me, but took a special interest in me. And apparently, part of my soul mission here on Earth was to come here, um, knowing I would get mucked up and, forget my mission and create karma, which I did. But my mission here was to channel the ancient builder race and help raise awareness. And it took many lifetimes to get here. I fucked up many a times, and this lifetime was always, you got to clear up your karma, you got to learn your soul lesson, um, and get to your soul mission. So, I guess my main point is, a lot of us come here for different reasons. I can only go by my experiences, what I believe in. There's a lot of channelers out there, a lot of different beliefs, spiritual. There's a conglomerate of crazy stuff that, it's a rabbit hole. I do these channelings to help raise awareness, not for popularity. If so, I would pretty much show my face. I think I did a couple during the daylight when I started and didn't think that through. I took one of the videos down, but then I'm like, if people want to go back to it, it wouldn't be fair to take them down because they go in sequential order. And so I kind of left them up there, but that was last year. We're all here for a different mission. We're all here to help each other, love each other. Some of us are here just to be parents. Some of us are here to learn. Well, we're all here to learn lessons, whether you're a so-called light worker or whatever. We're all here to raise frequency of our own vibration, learn, and then get the hell out. We're all on the same level. We all are psychic. We all can tap into those energies, and that's what the ancients are pretty much trying to do, is get everybody to tap into their own psychic energy, to become aware, so you can kind of see what's really going on. The dark night of the soul is when you're going through it, you hate it, but when it's done, you look back and say, "Wow, I did need that. It made me wiser." It ain't no joke. It's tough, and it's you have to go through it. But I can reassure you that no matter how far to the edge you get pushed and you don't see any ounce of hope or light, there will be something that catches you to get to that next stepping stone. It may not be the total solution you need for your whole problem, but it's in accordance to your stepping stones to get you to that whole solution. And it changes your life, it changes your beliefs, it changes who you are. Because these characters we play on Earth are just characters from our social beliefs and conditioning from school and communities. You have to unlearn all that and, see what's really going on. And I can really attest to you guys from, what's really going on in the distractions from politics to all of news and shit. And there's a lot of crazy shit on the internet. 99% of it is bullshit. A lot of these spiritual groups, this, 5D's coming, that's coming, and, this is reality, guys. It's cold, hard reality with free will that we've come here to learn and to help out, hope, I think I kind of rambled. I didn't really have, I just got an inkling to jump on and just kind of tell you a little bit about me. Like I said, the ancient builder race, it's just a collective unit of physical and non-physical entities that set the foundation for this sector and for other galactic cousins to come in and seed life and help build life. They're just kind of watching, trying to steer and guide. They're not teachers. They're learning too. Because if at the end of the day, if you look at it, if everything who set this emotion had it figured out, everything would be perfect. And it's far from perfect. So everybody's trying to figure out the best system to incorporate your spiritual life with physical life. And we're here on the edge of life, helping it to unfold. So everybody's playing their part and manifesting their reality. So the next video will definitely be about love. And like I said, I think their tone of their messages will get more serious and not dark, but the reality of what could come about. Because I can tell you from my dreams and from my meditations that the war that, does happen with artificial intelligence, not on this planet, but on, whether it's the Pleiades or wherever else. And like I said, I'm pretty much 99.9% sure, my last incarnation before this onto Earth, it was as a Pleiadian. And like I said before, Pleiadian, it was something else besides that. So, when you identify yourself as a star group saying, I want to go back home, I'm this and that, it really doesn't matter. Your essence is as a soul. That's who you are. You just incarnate in different systems, in different labels. They're just all labels. So, right now you're a human and we're supposed to be human. So I hope that helps, guys. I hope everybody's enjoying these videos. They're here to enhance. Talk to you guys later. Bye.